Hi, and welcome to Mind Gym with me, Puleng Sele, the mind surgeon. As always, you are in for a great mind workout. So, one Sunday late afternoon, I was going about my business and I received a call inviting me to a television interview the next day on one of the very early morning shows. It was rather short notice, but I had an opening that morning, so I figured, why not? So I agreed to it. But as soon as I hung up the phone, I literally felt my heart sink because I thought to myself, wait a minute, my hair. So, to give you a little background on that, anyone who knows me knows that I've been blessed with long lashes, natural hair. I take great pride in my hair. And because it's so versatile, I like to take time experimenting with it and, pulling off these grand and elaborate styles. But the weeks prior, I just decided to give my hair a break from all the styling and manipulation. So I started rocking some cute head wraps and really enjoyed them. So I maintained the head wrap look for longer than initially intended. I mean, it was stylish and it was no big deal. I could go to the store with the head wrap on. I would do school runs with it on. I would attend events with it on. It was really just my daily look. But this was national television. I wasn't just going to the store or to school or to some meeting. I was going on national television. I was going in front of a national audience. And I had no time to do anything lavish with my hair. So my excitement about the interview quickly turned into regret for having agreed to it on such short notice. But then my mind immediately went to a book that I had read some years before, a passage in that book that said, "Who are you if there's no title beneath your name? If it's just your name, who are you?" And as that passage flashed my mind, I found myself asking myself, girl, who are you without lavish looking hair? Who are you? When you recognize that no hairstyle makes you, that my hair didn't make me, I made me, God made me, and the people who believed in me and supported me helped me to become who I am. So this lack of an elaborate hairstyle wasn't going to break me. I was compelled to bet on myself, not to bet on my hair, not to bet on my hairstyles, not to bet on my head wrap, not even to bet on people's opinions of it, but to bet on myself, on Puleng Khosisile. And that is what I want us to talk about today, the power of your identity. So my question to you is, who are you when they take away the money, the expensive wardrobe, the houses, the cars, the fame, the fortune, the followers, the title, the associations, the degrees, the partnerships? Who are you when there are none of these things beneath your name? Who are you? We live in a terrible culture, a culture that is plagued with an identity crisis. We're trying to find our identity in our job, in our career, in our education, our partners, or what other people think about us or how we look in their eyes. And don't get me wrong, I'll be the first to raise my hand when it comes to believing that one should put effort into how they look and present themselves. Because first impressions do matter. Whether we like it or not, the world judges you on first impressions. But my point is this: when the things you lack get in the way of you sharing your wisdom and making a positive impact in the lives of those you've been called to serve, then you must pause and reflect and ask yourself, who am I when there's nothing beneath my name? Who are you when there's nothing beneath your name? We have to know who we are, because when we do, we're ready to be victorious in every and any situation that we ever face. Because when you let your identity define your circumstances, then your circumstances don't get to define your identity. I want you to consider the passage of scripture where Jesus was tempted in the wilderness by the enemy when he said he should turn stones into bread. Notice how the enemy frames the temptation. This is what he said: "If you are the Son of God, then turn these stones into bread. What is he doing? He's questioning his identity, because he knew that if he could get him to doubt his identity, then he could get him to sabotage his destiny. Because when you are not settled in who you are, you need to do things and have things in an attempt to prove that you are a somebody. See, the enemy of your life, who operates through the circumstances of your life, comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And the first thing he wants to kill, steal, and destroy is your identity. That's his number one priority. Because he knows that if he can get you to tie your identity to the things that you do and the things you have, then you will self-destruct when he takes those things away. When things define your value, then when those things are taken away, you see yourself as worthless. But Jesus sets a great example for us, because he went into the temptation knowing he was approved by God, knowing he was the Son of God. And how do I know this? I see it in his response. Let's look at it together. Remember that the temptation was, if you are the Son of God, turn the stone into bread. And watch Jesus. He answered and said, it is written, man shall not live on bread alone. Did you see that he only addresses the issue of how men ought to live? He completely ignores the issue of whether or not he was the Son of God. He knew he was the Son of God. And because he knew who he was, he could not be pulled into the trap of doing things or using things to determine his identity, to prove his identity. So according to his response, the temptation was not on whether or not he was the Son of God. The temptation was on what kind of son he was going to be. Was he going to be an insecure son or a secure son? But the fact that he was a son, that he was already convicted of. How about you? Are you secure in your identity? And why is it important that we talk about this? It's important because the world can be mean. It's not always mean, but it can be. And it's especially mean when you fail to meet the standards of worth that the world has developed. In other words, there is an identity that the world wants to give you. And when you fall short of it, when you are not controlled by it, the world will be very quick to judge you and to make you question your worth. But what you should know is that nothing you do will ever be enough for the world. If Jesus would have turned the stones to bread, he would have been asked to do something else to prove his identity. So it never ends. It's never enough for the world. That's why you must be enough in yourself. That's why it's important not to confuse where you are with who you are. For instance, your address tells us where you stay. It doesn't tell us who you are. But the sad reality is that most people simply do not know who they are. So let's look at a few examples of how you can realize that you have perhaps tied your identity to things, that you have confused your identity with your circumstances. Because when you leave your house, your home in the morning to go to work, to go to school, to go to the marketplace, you need to have the right identity. Because if you don't, the world will impose one on you. Number one, when you are unable to share your gifts and your talents and your skills with those who would benefit from them because of how your body looks, and not just your physical structure, but what your body is wearing and what car it's driving in, or where it works, or what position it holds. If all of these external things are limiting your potential, you are experiencing an identity theft. Your circumstances do not determine your identity. Circumstances should refine you, but they should never define you. So if you find yourself limited because you're not wearing the high-end brand, or you're not driving the latest model, or your body isn't curved in certain areas, you are operating from a false identity. We hear of really sad stories of young children, youth with limitless potential who take their lives because their parents couldn't afford to buy them a pair of sneakers. And so, because their identity is tied to that pair of sneakers, they could not see themselves facing the world without those sneakers. So much so that they would rather die. And it's sad. It's sad that you have kids with such thinking patterns, because those become beliefs that shape the rest of their lives. They grow up with a victim's mentality, always blaming everybody else and everything else for their lack of achievement, because they failed to recognize their true identity. They do not know who they really are. If I had turned down the opportunity to go on national TV and the opportunity to, potentially change someone's life for the better because I didn't have a particular hairstyle that day, then I would have let a false identity stop me from pursuing my purpose. And again, is it important to look presentable? Oh, absolutely. But what I'm saying is all it takes to look presentable is, soap, water, grease, and a comb if you have hair. It doesn't take that much. And don't just be presentable in looks, but be presentable in speech, the words you use, your attitude, your manners. Because sometimes we focus so much on the looks and we neglect the things that make the greatest difference. If you are wearing a tailored suit and you use foul language, you're not getting hired. You are not getting hired. If you are greatly talented, but you have an unteachable attitude, you won't be considered for most opportunities. So your identity is not in what you've accomplished. It's not in your fame. It's not in your position. It's not in your company, the company you work for. Not on a title. It's not a job. It's not a bank account. It's not your wardrobe. It's just you. And you are enough. So that's the first thing to guard against. We're not living in the power of our inheritance because we live in this worm-like mindset. I'm just a little worm. I'm just a grasshopper. That is broad daylight identity theft. The second type of mindset to guard against is when you limit yourself from pursuing your purpose because you are worried about other people's opinions. So many of us think that our identity is in what other people know about us or what other people think about us. For example, the world will have you believe that you are limited because of your race, because of your gender, because you are part of an ethnic minority, or your lack of academic qualifications, or poor fluency in a particular language. These are things the world uses to steal your identity. I'm sure you've often heard it said, you've probably said it yourself, that your kind of people, your race, does not respect time. Or you can only go so far because you are a certain gender. Now, if you buy into such suggestions, those are just suggestions, but you don't have to accept them as your reality. There are two things you have to realize. The first is that if there's something about your circumstance that you absolutely cannot change, then the circumstance doesn't need to change for you to reach your destiny. I'm going to say that again. I'm saying if there's something about your circumstance that you cannot change, then the circumstance doesn't need to change for you to reach your destiny. That's the first thing. The second thing is that if a circumstance needs to change for you to reach your destiny, then there's something you can learn in order to change it. Let's take an example. I'm female and I'm black. And because I cannot change that about myself, that means being a black female cannot stop me from running a successful business or getting a top position in an organization. It may be challenging, but it cannot stop me from reaching my destiny. But if I want to work, say, in a foreign country and I don't speak the native language, I can learn the language and change that fact. Or if I want a certain position that I don't quite qualify for, I can go and develop myself and get new skills and work on my experience. So what am I saying? I'm saying if it cannot be changed, then it's not required for your destiny. But if it's required for your destiny, then it can be changed. So again, we see that circumstances cannot stop you. It means that the only limits you have are the limits you're placing on yourself. And these limitations are called other people's opinions of you. You know, many people want to be delivered from demons and devils. But what you need to be delivered from is other people's opinions of you. That's what you need to be delivered from. Because those are false identities designed to keep you stuck, designed to prohibit your progress, designed to block your blessings. But today we are setting you free. So to my young audience, baby girl and young man, don't put yourself under the pressure to drink and to smoke or to engage in sexual activity just so you can be cool. Don't you know you are already cool? Don't you know you're already smart and special and talented? Those things don't make you cool. They just make you a slave to them, and they lead to self-destruction. You're already cool. Don't feel the need to compromise your values, the pressure to walk around exposing what should be kept private, just so you could look more beautiful or appealing. Don't you know you already are beautiful? You already are smart. You already are special. Know your identity. Know that you are enough. So as you go through this journey of life, people will have opinions about you. And they are entitled to their opinions, just as you are to yours. So your teachers, your work colleagues, your family, friends, even strangers, they will have an opinion of you. And sometimes most times, the opinions suggest that who you are authentically and uniquely makes you a person of less value. And if you keep receiving the same message over and over again, that who you are is not enough, then you waste the years of your life thinking that your identity is an obstacle you have to overcome. And because you can't change what the system believes about you, you start to believe what the system believes about you. And start thinking that it's not possible for you to exist and to pursue your purpose just as you are. So don't look in the mirror of other people's opinions to find out who you are. Your identity is not your obstacle. Your identity is your superpower. When God tells you that you are made in His image and in His likeness, do not seek confirmation from others, because many people are miseducated and misinformed, and their opinion of you is not the truth of you because their knowledge is limited. Okay, I'm running out of time, but let's talk about one last thing quickly and we'll wrap up. The last thing that I want to talk about that the world uses to steal and destroy your identity so that you can in turn compromise your own destiny is your past. The world is very good at reminding you of your past patterns and your past behaviors. So critics, haters, and detractors often arise when you begin to pursue something significant. There are people out there that have made it their sole mission to find something negative in every positive. They are critics and they criticize people who are trying to do something with their life. They thrive on scandals. They live for rumors, and every rumor for them is a fact worth broadcasting. It excites them that somebody else is failing or has made a mistake. And this is because of a deeply held belief that they themselves are not enough. So every time they see you moving ahead, changing your life, their only mission is to drag you down to where they are so that you can keep them company. These are people who will never let you forget your past. As soon as you begin to do something significant, here they come, bringing up all your past mistakes, your past habits, your past patterns, past behavior, your past relationships, your past performance, and interestingly enough, all of it is negative. I mean, somehow they have amnesia that is causing them to remember only the negatives about your past. If that is you, having all this negativity about people, and you may not even be the source of the gossip, but you may be the one entertained by it. If the shoe fits, don't wear it. Get rid of that shoe. Burn that shoe. Because you have a wrong belief that you win by pulling others down. But that's the world's false identity of you. Because your true identity knows that we all win when we give each other a hand up. So when you are trying to move to the future and your past is being brought up, you have to make a choice of which of these identities you're going to embrace. You have to make a choice of what you're going to identify with. And then you have to commit yourself to stay with that identity and continue to renew your mind to that identity, because the world is going to try and remind you of your past. But what happens is when you cut out the negativity and free yourself from the guilt and the condemnation of your past, you will tap into the limitless and the boundless. So let your past be in their minds only, not in yours. So to find out who you really are, look to the Word. Look to the Word to determine your thinking and your identity. That is who you really are. Don't be trapped by your old mindset, your old patterns, your old habits. The world will like nothing more than to remind you of your limitation, to remind you of your past, to remind you of your circumstances. But those are not your identity. Everything in your life will improve and increase and get better when you know who you are. And the more you look into the Word as a mirror, the more you'll be transformed into the very image that God intended for you. Life is a journey of what's important in life with nothing beneath your name. And change will come when you have the courage to question your own fundamental values and beliefs and align your actions with your best intentions. We need to understand our identity because there is power in understanding your identity. If the world can get you to question who you really are and get you thinking about how you look, what you lack, who you used to be, it can prevent you from walking in any kind of confidence, any kind of power, any kind of victory. That's why you must fight for the right understanding and to hold on to what is true. Because it's not a fight for a new identity, but a fight against the patterns of thinking, the beliefs, the mindsets that tell us that we are not enough. Because the truth is, when you know who you are, with nothing beneath your name, then you know you are enough. Victory comes to those who don't allow their identities to be shaped by this culture, by this world, by the people of this world. And as we quickly approach the end of the year, the only thing in our minds should be to finish strong. It doesn't matter what you are facing right now. It doesn't matter what you've gone through in the past. And we don't know the intricate details of the remaining part of the year. But what we do know is that we can finish strong. You're going to finish strong if you will have the right identity. I hope you enjoyed today's workout. And if you did enjoy it, hit the like button, share it with others, subscribe for more workouts. And do tell us in the comments section how these workouts are blessing you. We love hearing from you. And finally, remember to treat your mindset like your life depends on it, because it does. Until next time, stay blessed.